Hello, Wethersfield. There are interbranch people who have been sequence shifting in their roles with ground, wire, and mail crimes, and falsified police reports, forging names and switching names. They've been doing that because they've been doing this they did this interbranch. Two Mendez police, for example, on and off Wethersfield Police Department, on and off New Britain Superior Court, recorded, confessed, demonstrated by other officers and by themselves, pretending to be a conversation, putting me in quotes, on and off the Wethersfield Police Department. There are various natures of courts, not just New Britain Superior Court, on and off their court, involved with these two police officers. Dear ABC News, you guys did a report on Facebook and kids on Facebook. These are people involved with child offenders on and off the schools, proven, recorded, but recorded further then and now. It is tied to how they are Washington, D.C. There are people associated with the corners of streets like Walker Hill, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They're involved with a De La Fera family, with judges, and with prosecutors involved with them criminally intercities through time, and with houses on and off Two Rod Highway, with a whole bunch of people recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with sequence shifts and with identity thefts, and with investigations and investigators recorded used criminally in the past relevant to right now. They are recorded further involved with wire crimes with the kids, and in-truck campuses, predicate acts delivery system method roles with the databases. It is very simple. For example, Trinity College also has confessed, recorded, and demonstrated people from my town that I don't know who pretended other. The exceptions were all contexts where they could pretend others. So if I try to say that, they deny it too, per their recorded roles, with uses of time treatments, always too fast, too slow to get over our identities, individually grouped it together. For example, in relationship to all the questions about American history, how to treat topics, for example, equality. They have people offensively pretending to care about success, pretending that is a value. It is not where it is a truth, a fact, no. Because right in the context, in locations, in relationship to the metaphysical field of fact-treatment nature that is inseparable from the grounds, states, and the individual's actual value progression system and needs and means, if you want to be a quality fact treatment nature. This is prohibited unless they have a success employed as a word that is used to collusion with all identities of the ground, locations individually grouped together, everyone speaking through others, and that exploited. Now as sense and sensibilities, no, using Jane Austen's phrase. As positive and negative treatments, well, it's not our fault. We can't control that. They're preventing reliefs where there are countless bound means to demonstrate worse than reliefs having been prevented, worse than extortion upon the people of New York City. Of every location, let alone. To understand this, you can't separate it from the points of correlation that show where and how it is a breaching method that is everywhere at once. And where and how it is a fact treatment nature oriented organized crime method, predicate acts delivery system method. And where and how evidence was about, for example, when there were Jim Crow laws, that's not evidence of prejudice. Someone could argue that forever. One thing it is in relationship to reliefs, it's it's evidence of criminally foreign influence premises treatments that are simultaneously delusions raw. It's evidence of offensively criminal use of rules racketeering, identity racketeering. See, rather than have quality of sophistication and integrity to speak for American history and for any individual group or self, they offensively need to pretend into things like integrity, mean and are what they are not. Mandated law, they are pretending means what it does not. There are only three branches of government. They are kept needing to hide lie progressions onto all ages and natures of campuses, intercities, and intra-campuses, and intra-cities. And that was kept to keep exactly what is along, like for example, all along Walking Hill Road. There are people involved with the Wethersfield Police Department, with military police, foreign and domestic, generals. They cannot defend what they say. Well, that's it. Well, we're about war. We just go there. Oh, but we're calling up now. Of course they are. We're wearing a criminally foreign influence identity of the ground, native pure. They make fights between the Native Americans, agreements between Native Americans. They owe them more. You entertain those agreements, you're entertaining worse than the extortion of and torture of Native Americans. And that's worse than the torture and extortion of American history. That's the theft of our founding parents' identities in our faces, pretending to be for them. Everyone had words. They had this theater of criminal and seditious nature. Everyone was forced to rolls with. It's already, so those criminal and seditious nature needs to make subjects and leave out everything else. Self-value, where time is used always too fast, too slow, to prevent the short words and the long words of our species from demonstrating, for example, sequence shifts, identity of values / value progression mistreatments, databases oriented since before computers, organized crime, roles, worse than war crimes, simple organized crime, predicate acts, delivery system method roles. So we have needs to discern how human fact cheapening nature is value as nature / nature as value, as criminal and seditious nature, as fake positive multi-front with the fake righteous justice, and with the overt criminal enterprises, and all that private criminal enterprises, all fake. Fake positive, fake. And so, not by accident, they value the identity of the ground locations individually grouped and together as victim reactions that were employed, defenses of identities of the ground in relationship to them that can't be defended and discerned all that is capable of each individual of each age of location's correlation nature, per its actual system's means. One way redeems. So there's the Wethersfield Police in New Britain Superior Court and Hartford Superior Courts are involved with a guy named Hunter and with an O'Brien family. And with houses on my street, per the Wethersfield Police, and per those courts. And because they're trying to, they've been sustaining since before the World Trade Center attack their roles with predicate acts every day. But intercities, connected, those are illusions, no. Their roles with verbal roles with their roles with the actual database-oriented wrongdoing and predicate acts, positing roles, known or unknown by them. But see, we have the identities of law that have been manipulating Wethersfield, the fire departments, Hartford fire departments, West Hartford fire departments. This is on-off Wethersfield interbranch locations and with their families having been involved with locations crimes and on and off campuses of each age and nature. This is about what is simultaneously. For example, they also use crime methods of pretending people make, they just make over allegations about, they think bad about other people. Now they have this self-defended with manifest recorded criminally foreign influenced readings of statutes and per their recorded crime methods, interbranch, individually grouped together, that are also evidence, which is also showing how they've been using words/values like evidence criminally. Now they've been doing this with other nations. So when we start admitting this, the more and more it prostrates the ability of leaders here and there to be able to counter things they can only counter through peaceful means, where those peaceful means are effectively this way maintained collusion with that which led up to the World Trade Center that was here since before our founding parents. But it is also in the context of the World Trade Center and worse than just interstates and internations, the ones involved with the predicate acts with the databases on my town through time. There's the phenomenon of how they use the identity of the ground that brings in other people's names. So there are people with the name Sullivan who recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They as strangers. They tricked me in West Hartford or Hartford. There's a Lena and other people they tricked too. This is repeated to me, and I confessed all kinds of confessions from strangers, and they tricked the people to the locations by switching names, because they also have switching names with locations involved with the courts, with forging names and switching names with prosecutors, state's attorneys, and with judges. And that's also relevant to them ducking behind needs to pretend there are integrity with our people with the World Trade Center and other nations' equivalents. In other words, they're all victims, but you know, if they want to make opinions in the background, make it up front. See, there have also been, these are prisons associated with the interbranch that were involved with Connecticut, worse than intercities, worse than interstates, and worse than internations alone. But as that coordinated, leading up to in the World Trade Center attack, Manhattan, as their roles recorded since, people involved with the, did anyone find out why they had that fan in the freezing cold towards Manhattan with New Year's Eve? Because my town's police chief, a Cintron, is also with a whole bunch of other countries involved with them criminally, with these crime methods, like with this Sullivan, didn't give me the whole name. They pretend, it's easy to say, oh, I don't want my name used, and pretend that. That's a truth. That's a fact. But they're using those facts as lies, because they've been forging names, switching names, fabricating police reports. They've been roles with some child sex offenders that are involved with some drug crimes and criminal uses of the untimely death locations on and off Trinity College, on and off the principal child offenders campus further then and now involved with this. They also been using wire crimes with the preventing people counters to how the interbranch were all recorded using Facebook for all kinds of natures of organized crime. And with child offenders, people on the sex offender registry already recorded involved with other natures of organized crime with the various courts and police forms that put them away. Now we have uses of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his co-defendants also involved with the child campuses on my street, in my town, tied to the houses on my street, involved with the people with Central Connecticut State University and with Trinity College involved with drug crimes with the kids. While they're pretending to be against such, while they have rights to, but they've been criminal readings of statutes, because they've been using their roles with such to pretend they know people they don't even know. And all exceptions, exception nature recorded involved with them with this crime method against exceptions and exception nature, which identity is. So, they're also using the identity of the ground locations with the forging names and switching names, because people are so quickly they're just going to do what the judges and with the prosecutors and the military tell them, regardless of how there are other nations keep that criminally foreign influence exploited that way. We have the people that translate. Now they're going to have problems between these people. They know they're going to have translators. They know they're going to have the colleges, have to use each of the identities of the sciences individually grouped together. More sickly, criminally foreign influence, more overtly / insidiously since founding. More opinionators that want to debate overall things by leaving out all that's relevant to that, which is unrelated but related because of, for example, the databases, organized crime, method roles, switching names, forging names, identity theft, frauds, sequence shift roles. Now those sequence shift people who have that, they are recorded needing to act, and through time. That's how this is tied to the kids that became adults involved with interbranch that were in private tied to them, including doctors. We have a pattern of people associated with New Britain with Hartford Hospital, but also New Britain, also the Institute of Living on the campus of Hartford Hospital. Founded in 1822, there was still slavery in Hartford. They have 1823, then George Washington College became Trinity College. These were people roles with this, again, identity, the ground, locations rolls into it. Now, you have to discern through that. So we have to use the identity, the grounds that bring up where people formally are in collusion with fake positive treatments as criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatments. Things like, we care about joy, we care about success, we care about love, we care about neighbors. That is recorded all bullshit because of their, excuse my language, because of their sequence shifts, uses of the identity of the ground locations, use of interbranch fabricating audio and video, uses of their means to get away with this too, because they have the directors of the agencies and they have generals and already roles, tools, non-integrity. It's all right, they want to pretend that they're integrity. Have them follow mandated law. Pick one name and sequence and let's get a response for this. So there are numbers of families with the name Sullivan who are involved with predicate acts on off Trinity College, on off CCSU, with judges and prosecutors, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Involved with this O'Brien family. Involved with this. They said his name is Officer Hunter. And I don't know, Emily or Amy, on off Hartford courts, leading up to the World Trade Center. These are also people, former director of the FBI in his defending capacities, involved with those courts criminally on off those locations, leading up to and in a deposition. And since they have crimes with forensics locations, also with people with the connections to them, to the child sex offenders, other natures of organized crime with the people that work, including state police, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the predicate acts of the Wethersfield police with federal criminals proven in various cases, and with the former director of the FBI's co-defendants and their family members. Also on off Fox Connecticut News, on off WFSB with these two Mendez police, a Kerr family. There is also an officer, Jerry Miller, who recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with the Kerr family and people tied to them all along Route 3 are involved with predicate acts with them, and with judges and with prosecutors and with foreign and domestic families and with overt criminal enterprises and their roles with database crimes with the campuses. Now those are also people who recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involve private school kids like a Fred Grisey, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with a whole bunch of houses around the high school through time, around the middle school, around the principal child defenders campus then and now, further involved with other natures of organized crime, with the kids, with the uses of the databases, with the uses of everyone speaking through others. and with their uses of like words like violence, words like reaction time. These are people, again, involved with leading up to the World Trade Center. They had roles with it as fake sides. They have the investigators of it also exploiting and having exploited how they have who they call their allies as people. Well, they interpret this for us. It's either A or B. Those people are involved with the off campuses maintained, all locations maintained, from off each age and nature of campus, further on off them, including homeschool kids involved in their family members. Recorded, confessed, demonstrated how involved. They need people to walk by each other because, again, of their sequence shift roles. You have to follow mandated law, though, for the people. ABC, please follow the mandated law for WFSB and for Fox Connecticut News. Also recorded threatening that and how they pretend passions and emotions. And you have to be able to counter their sequence shifts, because these active problems with the Sullivans, now with the Wethersfield police and their recent calls to me, they are already through time involved with a whole bunch of other women and men who were recorded, confessed, and demonstrated how the courts are of various natures of relevant courts are already recorded involved with all these other natures of organized crime with the kids through time, inter-cities, inter-campuses connected, and intra-campuses. So people on 2 Rod Highway, please respond So this Della Fera family and a Rob Schedule also sought me out to record, confess, demonstrated. They have this. They demonstrated. They have judges in the family of a Della Fera family who's involved with them with identity theft, with crime methods where they pretend from distances, illusions, they yell things out where no one's going to be able to respond. So they can pretend, because they were covering live progressions with the houses next to the schools connected and on off shared police locations, like on off where it's now the shopping center and off of Town Line Road, for example, the highway going by there and those woods next to it. It used to be Caldor, now it's a Walmart, and then there's the store. There's a Stop and Shop. It used to be a different thing, a Food Mart. They have things go, but those locations themselves were involved with a value progression, organized crime method, this identity theft method. So we have interbranch. We only have 3 branches of government. On off the state judicial branch offices, also the people involved leading up to and since the World Trade Center attack. They are recorded criminally using crime, threatening to and having been doing this. Well, how come you don't say anything? Every time I try to say something, they stack more predicate acts and more names that I have to use. That put fake recorded things, fake audio and video with the interbranch. Now, there were a whole bunch of people from Trinity College who also recorded, confessed. The DeMoro family was involved with them. And a DeMoro family also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. A Kerr family, they never brought up the name Joe Aiello, but they were recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with, and Joe Aiello recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them with identity theft, sequence shifts, and racketeering involved with the police forms, with an interbranch with Griswold Street and foreign with Griswold Street, and with the on-off parks, with the organized crime, with mayors retired and standing, further recorded and confessed and demonstrated by others involved with them too. Everyone forced to speak through others, so they're using their names. Then they have to pretend passion. I don't know him. Well, follow mandated law then. Who? Please, mayors, follow mandated law for former Mayor Gold and Wethersfield Police with the Sullivan families. recorded again, involved with a pattern of racketeering predicate acts against me and others intercities connected from West Hartford locations. That are also people recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with intercities through time, inter-campuses, intra-campuses, child campuses, intercity through time. When I was in high school, people made confessions out of nowhere. I didn't know what it had to do with that spot. Tied to it, there was a. So Joe DeMoro is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with interbranch with predicate acts with houses along the corners of Griswold Street. And this Joe Aiello also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed that he's rolls with them and with the Kerr family. Also with this Jerry Miller, Officer Jerry Miller, all along Route 3. And people associated with Paul Zano. And he has his family associated with PBS. And with other people involved with database organized crime with them. PBS, nothing personal against you guys. Please respond for the also their campuses. And he's got friends associated with a Cololo family that has a Phil Cololo recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by a Bob Chase and by others then and further involved with the principal sex offenders campus. These are also people involved with medical racketeering families, foreign and domestic, that forge names, switch names, have fake conversations with me. They've been attaching the kids and their family members to fake locations, fake sequence relationships. Foreign and domestic doctors associated with them, and all along Route 3 with them, and with houses and businesses next to the Southstein Middle School, further recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved, and the library. For example, regarding their motivations for having someone with the name Sullivan added, more Sullivan people added with the names forging and switching, and other natures of predicate act. And everyone pretend, oh, I don't know, that's not me. We're just speaking about this thing. A Sullivans is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, threatening me not to talk about what is actually recorded because of his roles with judges and with interbranch locations, recorded sequence shifting, fabricating fake audio and video. Now, he's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with other houses in my area. They also involved with them, everyone speaking through other. Don't forget, former director of the FBI, his co-defendants and their family members, also involved with predicate acts on and off the Fox, Connecticut News, and WFSB, and the buildings next to them. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with foreign and domestic police and overt criminal enterprises, involved with on and off campuses, relevant, inseparably connected predicate acts. Now, what's been separating them has been doing so as roles with what is actually recorded, what was anticipated uses of criminally foreign influenced, all identity treatment, identity of relationships to itself. What is recursion? First, you have to understand identity of relationship to itself and the value of that. First, you have to understand mandated law. First, you have to understand positive. First, you have to understand the difference between positive and fake, and positive as criminal and serious in this nature. Excuse me. All along, we will examine how temporary / lasting forever nature needs equality of free speech. And they're also pretending like not to understand when people are saying free speech. We need them to fix their fake audio and video and their fake passions and emotions and pick one name in sequence, interbranch with the media too, and with the other private, especially the doctors, foreign and domestic, criminally involved. Now they've been sequential over. We didn't know. How you know? You can make sure I get a response. And find out the last name of this Sullivan, because he's not the only Sullivan. This is before the World Trade Center attack. This is worse than extortion. There are also people with boxing gyms recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they were influenced by people in the background as victims involved with the interbranch, everyone speaking through other criminally. And that per their roles with the houses on my street, involved further with the people already on the child offender registry as the principal child offender, but further then and now involved with that. And with the houses on and off 2 Route Highway involved with sequence shift and with identity thefts with them. Know how they live next to me. They pretended to assume. They also use. They have a general with the name with use of the word friend, because they're involved with identity theft. They have to pretend. Oh, I thought you guys were friends. Where they use their roles with database organized crime, logic racketeering. They're with a whole bunch of other nations with psychology, delusions, rot, criminally foreign influence. Wake up. So they have a Sabbe Bajario. He sought me out to demonstrate. I don't know him, and how I only in the context I know him, and he was involved with the same courts involved with more crimes with kids with them, as people involved with these prison cliques, and also run with other kinds of natures of medical organized crime with them, with the people on the child sex offender registry, as the people further tied to the former director of the FBI's co-defendant itself, and to his lawyer, and to locations around his lawyer's office on the Farmington Avenue. No, with the Harriet Beecher Stowe house and the Mark Twain house. No, where they have the uses of the identities of value treatments of artists and such like that, also relevant to how, and like, again, treatments of success. They have all predators, where and how it counts, where someone needs to follow mandated law. In relationship to this, like, for example, there's no, that's how, if you go to a drive-through and they rob you, no matter what they say after that, if they're denying it, you know they're lying. See, we're going to stick on calling this a predicate act delivery system method. We're not going to call it prejudice, because you're going to discern people that are pretending to be against prejudice, how they were motivated needing to do that, because of all the fake positive treatments that are simultaneously with all the negative fake righteous justice treatments, and fake legitimate delusions. But they also have legitimate delusions, inter-sciences, that we're going to examine. So, New York Game and Burroughs' book. I'll also use this time to outline what the pamphlets are going to be about. And pamphleteer is these pamphlets, each city of the United States, and each other location. But most of the money is going to go leak down. And then what we can control, we develop that, because we're gonna claim this tactically denatured breaching method employed identity /S identities of the ground relationships. Human relations are criminally foreign influenced tactically, and that is self-value per that method using human identity. So to teach about computers, you have to be able to teach about identity true first. And then we'll go to then we'll deal with the phenomena, about how they can store information temporary and long term, and how that can be moved. It's for how math works. You can increase the identity of the locations of things, and that just changes the identity of relationship they share to the one identity. Its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that. That is distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously on to while as. It is to as. It is to, from, as, with, and for. Each discernible individual and group identity it is. That's what science really reveals. The rules of English aren't complicated. The only thing that makes them stay defended, it's complicated, because they're preventing the short words proper. They're offensively having identities even of English, in collusion with that which can't have discerned all that why and how the Predicate Act is named the Predicate Act by the law, and how the predicate is named the predicate as a value/value progression in relationship to English. Again, in relationship to this invisible but still discernible identity of relation to itself and the value of that. So, Wethersfield police. So when you have real passions and emotions are constantly being used to attach lies to it, because we have frustrated actors with all locations. So mandated law was supposed to be followed during times of calm since before the World Trade Center attack, and since. Our stewards have been using everything good and bad to hide what their uses of Facebook, for example. Not only was a hoax against the President of the United States, /S, all of them, the FBI, you can't discern that and how our organized crime county bodies have no integrity, worse than no integrity, in relationship to what really left worse than forsaken. What they engineered, only capable of being fathomed by individuals grouped. Oh, you can't control that. Don't talk about it. Just keep going for this fake positive. So we're going to have American history told. I want them to follow American mandated law now. Have them pick one name in sequence for this and respond, because there are Sullivans, intercities, and worse than interstates involved with the inter-campuses predicate acts relevant here, forging names, switching names, with the on off Trinity College, on off CCSU too, because this shows how they're using the identities of the ground. Everyone speaking to other criminally, pretending the conversations are thrown in there. Worse. Now respond for them. Respond for the interbranch Wethersfield now, intercity now.